Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us again for another Works with DW Spectrum presentation. This morning, we are lucky enough to be joined by the folks from Omnilert, specifically Mr. Eric Polovich. Eric, thank you for joining us this morning. Without further ado, we're just going to get into the background of the company and the product and how it works with DW Spectrum. Eric, why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Oh, absolutely. Give me just a sec. We're going to cover a couple things today. First off, we're going to cover up who Omnilert is, what visual gun detection is all about. Then we're going to do an overview of our product and eventually settle in on how it integrates with DW Spectrum. It's not going to be a live demo per se, but we are going to show off a demo of how alerts make their way into that ecosystem. So to start it off, first off, my name's Eric Polovich. I've been with Omnilert for about 15 years, focused mostly on the emergency notification project. But back in 2019, I started working with our visual gun detection product. Omnilert is a 20-year-old company. We've been around since 2004. We were actually a pioneer in the emergency mass notification space. When the Virginia Tech incident occurred in 2007, the industry grew up quite quickly, and so did Omnilert. We added a lot of features around two-way communications, automation of communications, preventive measures like panic button systems. That really naturally led us to the visual gun detection solution that we launched in 2019. Now, that product is a visual firearm detection system. It's an advanced analytic that detects weapon in frame on the camera systems, hopefully before a shot's fired, using those existing systems and integrations with things like the Spectrum VMS. Then we facilitate a quick human-in-the-loop review and a nearly automated response so that we can go from detecting a weapon in less than a second to taking action seconds later. Our company was founded in response to a growing threat of violent incidents on college campuses. And today, gun violence really is the most pressing danger that we have. This threat is has escalated year over year. There's more than a mass shooting and a half a day now in the United States. These threats of gun violence are more than any other threat that we have out there. In just the past 3 years, there have been 133,000 people in the US who have lost their lives to gun violence. That's 30,000 more than the combined total of American deaths in the Vietnam, Korean, Iraq, and Afghanistan wars, which spanned a period of more than 50 years. That really kind of shows that this is a crisis that needs to be addressed. And one fact that I don't think a lot of people are aware of is that most shootings start in open spaces like parking lots, lawns, areas adjacent to buildings. Parking lots in particular have been a common location for shootings for over 60 years. AI-powered visual gun detection offers you that crucial opportunity for early identification of a threat before a shooter enters the premises. It really enables a faster, more proactive response to prevent tragedy. And our solution uses our 20 years of integration and communications expertise in addition to our advanced artificial intelligence to really provide an end-to-end offering, detecting a weapon, bringing a person into the loop, and ultimately dispatching a response. We can detect a weapon in less than a second, third of a second on average. We can get that information in the hands of people in systems that can do something about it seconds later. Now, just to give you an idea of where we sit in the marketplace, we're not metal detection. We're not a walkthrough device. We're not manned by a security operator in order to run. We're not limited to deployments at doorways or entryways. We're also not like audible detection. We're not listening for a gunshot. We're not listening for anything. AI visual detection is going to be most similar to human detection. The difference being we're using an artificial intelligence to monitor those camera streams rather than having someone sitting at a desk looking for firearms. And we gain all of the benefits of automation. That AI is not going to fatigue. It's not going to get distracted. It's not going to come in on Monday morning having had a bad weekend and perform poorly for the first half of the day. We don't need to worry about staffing 3, 6, 9, an escalating number of operators to cover more cameras. That AI is going to spend the same amount of attention on every pixel, on every feed that's given to it. Mission-minded, doing one thing, looking for firearms. What we're really looking to do is take those systems that traditionally have been forensic, those camera systems that are there recording so that we can go back to the tape and turn them into true preventive tools. We know for a fact that most of the cameras aren't monitored live. Most of the videos never addressed before deletion. It's really there about going back to the tape after an incident occurs. What we want to do is turn these devices, this investment that you've already made, into tools for prevention. And we do that using an end-to-end workflow that starts with our artificial intelligence detecting a weapon. We quickly, as I said, bring a human into the loop to verify that detection. And then we facilitate the activation of people, systems, and devices so that you can push out a unified response as quickly as possible. It all starts with our artificial intelligence detecting a weapon. And then we pass that along to a number of different systems. One of them is going to be the Spectrum, the DW Spectrum VMS integration. That integration is twofold. We have the opportunity to import cameras, making setup easier. We import those streams directly using DW as sort of a blueprint. And then when a firearm is detected, we leverage DW Spectrum's bookmarking and alarming capabilities so that it can do what it does best. Start recording, kick off actions, turn that event into activity. We also have the opportunity on our side to push off integrations from our server and from our cloud as well. So it really is a two-pronged approach. Now, that detection occurs at the artificial intelligence level, and that AI has a pretty good pedigree. The technology got its start in a DARPA project in the Middle East years ago, and our head of AI, Chad, was involved in that project. One of the developers had a tragedy at home. He had a family member that lost their life in the Sandy Hook shooting. And he said, you know, really, what can I do to take this technology and keep people safe at home? Gun Detect is the fruition of this, this dream. Our AI isn't just a million pictures of guns that we threw into a model. It is a very sophisticated data-centric artificial intelligence. And we're built for those blink and you miss it moments. That gun flashed out of a pocket, pulled out of a trunk and loaded into a bag, transferred from a backpack into a locker. It's all about getting the gun accurately and getting it quickly. You'll see some examples of that here. We're not just looking for firearms. Yes, we're looking for about 3,000 different weapon profiles, handguns, long guns, military hardware, ghost guns, etc. But we're also looking for benign objects like that torque wrench that just walked across the screen. We're looking for those to sort the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. We're also looking for people and context. Context is very important. As an example here, we didn't detect on that holstered weapon, but once the hand makes that bridge, we see that brandished pistol, we're going to detect very quickly. This context is very important for a number of reasons. It actually increases the speed that we're able to detect. It reduces our false positive rate, and it increases confidence in the system. When we build all of these different confidence scores, that's when we're going to make the detection. When we're sure it's a gun, that it's not something else, and that it's behaving in a way a gun behaves. And this allows us to operate in the real world in locations where there's, dozens or hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of people moving in front of the camera in an afternoon, mission-minded, looking for a firearm, or in those locations where maybe you don't have a set of human eyes, out-of-the-way locations that don't get a lot of traffic, places that on that rotator where you might have a human being, that camera wouldn't come up very often. Because of the nature of our technology, we're compatible with PTZ cameras, multiple frame rate systems, multiple resolution systems on the same hardware. It's all about doing that one thing. When a gun is presented in your environment, we detect it quickly. We get the ball rolling on a response. Once a weapon is detected, we very quickly move it along to that verification piece. And verification can happen in a number of different places. We can put it directly in your security operations center, put it directly in front of the eyes of your team, whether that's on a mobile device, whether that's in your Spectrum VMS. We also have the option to roll Omnilert monitoring in there. That's going to be a series of geographically dispersed central stations that vet and quickly take action on those detections as they come through. We use a partner for this, and they give us about an 11-second turnaround time from the time that weapon is presented to a camera to when action is being taken. Most of our customers utilize Omnilert monitoring because it also enables some advanced workflows. We're not just pushing information back to the local resources, but allows us to escalate directly out to first responders in formats that they're used to seeing, formats compatible with computer-aided dispatch, mobile terminals, and in-car systems, so that we're able to deliver not just the fact that there's a gun, but all of those salient details from the detection image, the video, the location, and that cool, calm operator on the other end of the line, not just providing them with info, but providing that context as well and facilitating communication with the point of contact and the boots on the ground. Once that detection is verified, we activate those different systems and people very quickly, including first responders. We work in a pretty big ecosystem of partners to make that happen. We're using endpoints like the DW Spectrum VMS, our own Omnilert scenarios, or other integrations to really push out a true unified response. It's not just about getting the gun quickly. We do that. It's not just about getting in the hands of someone that can make that decision quickly. We do that. It's about starting the ball rolling on your first minute of an active shooter response, not just telling people what's going on, but pushing out that barrage of activity so that you're truly taking action. And just to give you some real world numbers, because I know everybody likes real numbers, we can detect a weapon on average in a third of a second. 0.36 seconds is our average to detect. When we deliver for verification, we're going to be delivering at the speed of the internet, the speed of the network, and that's going to be nearly instantaneously. When we do brandished weapon exercises and installations, and we're looking at performance numbers, it's nearly instantaneous. Gun walks in front of a camera, cell phones start ringing, systems start going off. If we're adding in the bottleneck, and I'll use air quotes there, of Omnilert verification, as I said, that's an 11-second average. This is actually an outdated slide from the time that the gun is presented to when the system kicks back an alert. And when they notify, that means that they're going to push out a notification in a number of different methods, including pushing it back in the DW Spectrum if monitoring is utilized. They can also, in that same amount of time, depending on workflow, escalate to first responders, kick off local action integrations, and of course, local resources could do that same thing within the DW Spectrum ecosystem, which means end to end. In a monitored solution, we're talking somewhere between 10 seconds and half a minute from the time a gun is seen by a camera to a time that the response is being pushed out. And in a local system, that's going to be even quicker. Now, I mentioned about different workflows, different options. We're very flexible when it comes to how we implement. That can be, as simple as a standard workflow where we detect, our Omnilert monitoring confirms, and then we kick off actions, pushing things back down to that local resources, escalating and pushing out to local first responders. We can also go with a locally monitored system, taking Omnilert out of the equation altogether. Detections go into your Spectrum VMS, local resources confirm and take actions in your local environment. We also have the option to, mix it up, hybridize that, use Omnilert monitoring, and then use your Spectrum VMS as an endpoint in addition to launching other action automations. It's really all about options. Speaking of options, when we deploy, there's a lot of different moving pieces and a lot of different options for you there. Right now, we're deployed in systems that are as small as a few dozen cameras all the way up to many thousands. And one of the reasons for that is because we are hardware agnostic when it comes to camera systems. We're going to work with whatever cameras you're utilizing because we look at the quality of the camera feed, not the specific manufacturer of the camera, which means when we pull those cameras out through your VMS, it doesn't matter what you're using. As long as we can get that RTSP stream, we should be able to perform on that cameras. Performance is all dependent on stream quality. We like 2 megapixel or better. We like 15 to 20 frames per second or better because we analyze those frames at real time frame rate. Every frame is another opportunity to detect, and that's how we get that nice snappy detection speed. When we deploy the AI, we're going to deploy it on premises. And there's a number of different form factors that can take. Most of our customers utilize Omnilert's pre-configured appliance that can handle about 50, 55 1080p streams, mostly because It's very easy to deploy, very easy to set up. In those larger implementations, when we're getting into hundreds or thousands of cameras, we do support custom rack mount hardware as well. It's really just a math equation. How many streams? What's their resolution? How many graphics cards do we need to put into those individual chassis to do that processing? Now, as far as taking a look at how Spectrum integrates, I'm going to go ahead and pass that back over to the excuse me, to the folks over at Spectrum, and we'll see what we can do from there.
Thanks, Eric. So, yeah, absolutely. The beauty of this, as always with Spectrum, is that it uses the same tools and the same power of the Spectrum alarm event engine. So Eric's talking about those alarms that are created and how quickly they're created. And then, Spectrum can turn those alarms into action. So you have a whole host of options in the alarms rule section that when an alert is received from Omnilert, and it's going to be received like any other third-party device that's communicating with Spectrum, is through that generic event function inside of the rules engine. You identify it with the source. You can identify it with the description. You can go as granular as to the level to individual cameras and create rules for specific cameras. And you'll see in the actions, we've got the blow up of all the different actions, and we're going to show you bookmarking and how instantaneous it is because Eric, in terms of the speed of the system. But if you wanted it to pop up on a desktop, I've got a show alarm layout populated there to kind of show that. You'll see above there we have send mobile notifications. So if your Spectrum system is connected to DW Cloud, you can get it right into your DW Spectrum mobile app and have it populate right onto your lock screen that there's an event, and identify what that event is, that it is an Omnilert weapon being detected for that location. You'll also see up there things like do HTTP requests. So last month we had our friends at Pro Data Key, and the very tight integration that we have with PDK's access control. So as I said, you can get as granular as you like here, and you can create those workflows right inside the Spectrum rules engine. So you could, on a weapon detected from Omnilert, you could have Spectrum send an HTTP request to the PDK access control system that's going to lock down the school. So when Eric's talking about within 30 seconds, you have all of these things happening instantaneously. You have a lockdown event in the school based off of those weapons. You'll also see things in there in terms of playing sounds, turning on lights. All of those are available, and it's just this. It's not a unique capability within Spectrum. It's it works just like all the other integrations inside of Spectrum, in that once you receive it, you have all of these different actions available to you to turn those alarms into those automated workflows instantaneously. So with that, we're gonna see it in action a little bit here, Eric. If you want to.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and advance. So this was something we recorded in the lab just to show off the integration. And what you're seeing here is one of our engineers got a camera running Omnilert gun detect. He's going to go ahead and pick up that weapon. And within a number of seconds, we've created that detection event locally. It all runs entirely on our server. Pass that off over to DW Spectrum, and DW Spectrum has created an event called Gun Detected. So it allows you to create generic events when a gun detection occurs, and you can use these to trigger actions using event rules. And you'll see here in the event log, which should come up, and I'll let you kind of explain what's going on here, Patrick, but mostly we can add a new rule and have it take actions.
Just right where I was. So you've got your generic event coming in from Omnilert with that action, with that event, and then over on the right side, we're going to select the action. You have a whole host of the actions that you can select from. You can have multiple actions off of the same event. Just keep repeating that generic event as the input, and have it pop up on alarm layout, or have it play a message through a SiteWatch speaker. All of those things can happen instantaneously.
And just to sort of recap, That integration itself is twofold. It allows us to import the cameras directly through DW Spectrum, making that setup a lot easier. And then when that gun is detected, instantaneously, we're going to push it back into the event handling system in DW Spectrum so that it can do what it does best. Start recording, bring up the active camera, create a lockdown event, set off alarms. Your opportunities there, what you can do with that are nearly limitless. Now, just to sort of close out, I get asked questions a lot about proving the negative. Have you actually caught any guns and prevented a mass shooting? And while I can't say that we've prevented shootings, I can say, and there were a lot of images here that it skipped through real quick, that we definitely have and do catch real weapons in the real world on a regular basis. And we dispatch first responders regularly in the real world for all sorts of customers, whether that's a private industry customer, whether that's a K through 12, whether that's a housing complex, whether that's a distribution warehouse. When a gun is presented, whether it's a planned event or a testing that we get very spontaneously from some of our customers, we get it within seconds and we escalate seconds later. It's all about that quick detection, that early detection, and that early action, giving you more time to mitigate or hopefully even prevent an active shooter situation. And we've been doing it for a really long time. We've been working since 2004 in the life safety solution space, and our gun detection product was launched late 2019, in development for many years before that. I believe that we're the only folks in the space that have a native emergency communication backend supporting our software. That's a system that's going to support millions of subscribers all over the world, using to get our information where it needs to be fast. Every escalation from our monitoring centers provides first responders with that rich, robust data, those videos, those images, those locations, that same information that we're pushing down into DW Spectrum so it can do what it does best, is enabled for your incoming first responders or even your boots on the ground if we end up doing mobile notification. We've got 50 plus first party integrations out there with all sorts of technologies. That's in addition to the integrations that you've already got built into your Spectrum VMS. So there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to what's going to happen when we detect that weapon. I truly believe we're the only enterprise level solution out there for visual firearm detection. As I said, we boast some of the largest clients in the space, thousands of cameras deployed over individual sites or over entire citywide school districts. And with that, I'll go ahead and wrap it up here simply by saying we're trusted by millions of people all over the world to keep their to keep them safe. Thousands of customers utilizing both our emergency notification and our visual gun detection product. It's very nice to be here today, helping out and presenting our solution with DW Spectrum. As Patrick said earlier, we work with DW Spectrum to keep people safe. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you, Patrick, and we can answer some questions.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so it looks like we have a number of questions that are starting to populate in. So just right off the bat, I see one asking. So we have a mobile application that we refer to as DW Witness, which is essentially just another camera stream coming in to Spectrum, but it's coming from your mobile device. So the question is, will this function with DW Witness? And from a Spectrum standpoint, it's just another camera stream. So I guess the question is in terms of the scene, can this solution work with a rapidly changing scene?
So when it comes to rapidly changing scenes, in theory, working with a camera that's moving is just as easy as working with a still camera. We look at every image or every video stream as a series of still images rather than a true stream video. So whether the subject's moving or the camera, we don't differentiate. I don't know technically if we're able to receive that video stream. That would be something I'd have to get with the integration team to see if we set that up. I wasn't aware of the witness feature, but theoretically, mounting or utilizing a moving camera stream, as long as we're getting a quality feed, we should be able to detect on that. I'd be interested to test that in the real world using that his technology.
I would say the same thing. I mean, in terms of when that camera is delivered to Spectrum, it's essentially just another camera inside a Spectrum that's recording.
Yeah.
The RTSP stream is sitting there, so the Spectrum server is able to feed on the Omnilert that RTSP stream. So, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to work in terms of within this solution. So a couple of the others. Company I work for is a DW channel partner. Yeah, so does it require a separate agreement? In terms of the go-to-market strategy, Todd, the DW isn't reselling this, so yes, you would need to contact Omnilert specifically for access to the product. Paul, you see anything else in here? Oh. All right. There's a question in terms of the cost breakdown. I don't know if you want to handle that here, Eric, or maybe just on the specific.
I can give some high level numbers here. So we charge based on the number of camera streams that are coming into the server. That's our entire license. There's no additional cost for monitoring or things like that. The only thing that you need to worry about is the setup, which would be your hardware costs to run the AI. That's going to be those individual appliances or the server costs for custom hardware. The appliance is usually the way our customers go because they're inexpensive. You can run 50, 55 1080p cameras, and I think the retail price on that is $1,500. Then it's the licensing for the product itself. We do license annually, and it's based on the number of streams. There is economy of scale built into that. So once you get up over 200 or 300 camera streams for those larger footprints or organizations spanned over a large area, like a K through 12 institution, you're looking at somewhere between $200 and $300 per stream per year. So smaller implementations, that number is going to climb a little bit. We are looking at doing some, very small packages for things like retail. What I'd recommend is if you're really interested in getting in on pricing, getting a real quote out, reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with a sales individual who can kind of talk to you a little bit about your needs and put together a full quote for you.
Okay. Another question that came up, and I'll handle it in terms of Brian. No, you don't need an AI camera or an analytic camera on site. It works with any camera. I think the first question on the screen there, where they're referencing any IP camera system. I mean, I'll take it down as far as actually we can, within Spectrum, we can take analog cameras and code them through an encoder. You can get a 2 megapixel, 5 megapixel or 4K analog camera. And essentially, once you've got that camera handled in Spectrum, it just becomes another IP camera as far as Omnilert goes. You're handling this analytic at the server level, not out at the edge on the camera. So, whether it's the on-prem server or combined within the Omnilert cloud solution, it does not require a specific camera. If you want to add to that, Eric.
No, absolutely correct. We are going to be vendor agnostic. The only thing we care about is the quality of those camera streams. We advertise a requirement of 1080p, although we can detect on lower resolutions. It just minimizes that detection distance. For a 1080p camera, you're going to get detection out to about 35, 40 feet from the lens, depending on individual configurations. Higher resolution cameras push that out. Narrowing the field of view pushes it out even further. So in some cases, we're getting detections out into the 100, 200 feet on some specific cameras, outdoor, on doorways, things like that. So there's really no need to buy specific cameras for the solution. As long as we can get an RTSP stream of a sufficient quality, we should be able to detect on it.
So this was an early question. I had to scroll up to see this one, but and I think the videos hopefully answered Sean's question in terms of a holstered gun. I mean, I think if you noticed on the video that we played, the gun was visible in the scene, but it wasn't presented, right, or brandished, as Eric said. So I think the videos kind of showed that the analytic works when the gun is actively presented to it, which is, Eric, I don't know if you saw the question, but basically the question was, how does it what about, high schools with police officers that are walking around with guns holstered all day?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. The way our analytic works is it ignores holstered weaponry. When the hand, contacts the grip, we're going to see that as a brandished weapon. So we're going to detect very quickly. We're less forgiving when it comes to shotguns, rifles, things like that, whether it's shouldered, slung in arms, at the ready, we're going to detect on that. But for pistols, we're specifically looking for a brandished pistol. We're looking at other ways to differentiate uniformed officers from the general public. But right now it's based just on that, ignoring the holstered weaponry. We've looked at the solution in the real world, alerting on every gun, holstered weapons included. And this seems to be the best case in this case. We're notifying for, we're ignoring those uniformed officers because they have a holstered weapon. In open carry states where we often deploy, we're ignoring legal firearms, holstered firearms, as opposed to alerting on every gun that we see.
Okay, Eric. Well, I do see, Sean, yes, we will have someone reach out to you. I would also point out that we do have the QR code is on the screen. You can scan that there, hopefully, and get some information directly from Omnilert, or you can talk to any one of your digital watchdog regional sales managers, and they can put you in touch with their Omnilert counterparts in terms of this is just another solution in the Spectrum ecosystem that extends the capability. This year's theme at GSX next week in Orlando is proactive video security. We've been talking about that all year long, and this is yet another example of that. And really, the driving force of it is that proactive approach to your video system.